album isn't done until we can actually have it like physically in our hands and have it looking like how we want. So that was super important for us.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the name The Usual Boys is a slightly... We were trying to reckon with our role a little bit, I guess, as like young men, wondering what a man is in the 21st century, or a boy is. And maybe the idea of being a man at that time felt sort of unappealing. So the idea of being a boy was more interesting, and it was more open to interpretation.
Originally, it wasn't us who gave ourselves the name. It was this one local Späti, like a kiosk thing where you drink here in Berlin. And we used to go there quite often, all four of us. Well, three of us at the time. And then the Späti owner got to know us quite well. And then one day when we walked in, he went, the usual boys.
It was kind of poetic in some way.
Yeah.
Like a bit depressing as well when the guy from your kiosk knows you so well because you spend so much time there drinking beer and eating chocolate.
Yeah.
We've known each other for a long time, ever since we moved to Berlin, really.
Yeah, 6 years ago.
But really the last 2 years it's been a different level of
for sure.
seriousness, I would suppose.
I mean, I'm from Finland, he's from Scotland, our drummer's from Oxford in England, and then our bassist is from Sweden. So yeah, we're all from kind of all over the place.
But we live in Berlin.
Yeah.
So it's a really European Union experiment of internationality.
Yeah.
We all went to music college here, and we met each other that way, I suppose, because we all like the same music.
Yeah. With this album, we started writing it maybe 4 years ago, but it's been 3 years of recording now because we wrote all the songs, but then we didn't really have the money to be in a studio, especially after COVID and everything, and we just wanted to do things a little bit differently. So we did everything ourselves, just the four of us, recording all the stuff ourselves, producing it all ourselves in a couple different rehearsal spaces. Been a long process now of recording, producing, tweaking stuff and getting it to sound like how we want and trying to get the message across a little bit.
Yeah. And then it maybe took quite a lot of us having a lot more confidence in our own abilities to go, actually, no, we'll just do this ourselves in our own time and do whatever we want. And I guess that's what's really shaped the sound of the record, is like us being able to explore the limits of our imagination and with the equipment we've got, because obviously we're just doing bits in our houses or in our rehearsal space.
Yeah.
So really just trying to maximize that, really.
For sure, yeah. I think we're all much happier with this sound and think that this really represents what we want to do musically, much more than any stuff that we've done previously. I mean, that's what we want from the first album. We want something that we can really stand behind and feel like this is the sound.
Our drummer Patrick recorded all the drums in a basement on his own, and then Alexei and I recorded the guitars at the same time in an old abandoned office. And then we moved to a different abandoned office and recorded all of the bass and overdubs and vocals. So
I mean, a lot of the rehearsal spaces in Berlin are in these like abandoned East German office buildings where, I mean, half the room have like junkies and stuff living in them, and it's quite it's
dogs running around the building that there's no owner of. Like, it's quite like gothic atmosphere, and I guess some of that seeped into the sound a bit, that anxiety.
It's all a bit of a bad trip.
We actually started the Kickstarter project just in December of last year. So we had a month basically where we could, again in the spirit of doing everything DIY, instead of us relying on a label or a big government funding or something to fund it, we kind of realized we had some people who were really supportive of us always throughout all of these years of playing. And we kind of appealed to that support, and within a month we were able to raise actually more than what we needed.
For sure.
And it was quite a beautiful system in a way, because instead of us having any sort of input in what we do, we just really opened it out to the generosity of the people who support us.
Yeah.
And it meant that we can do everything entirely ourselves.
And the whole printing it on vinyl felt like something that I think a lot of us felt that this is something that we have to do, that it's not, the album isn't done until we can actually have it like physically in our hands and have it looking like how we want. We'd been recording for a long time and not playing enough gigs, so we didn't have the budget for it anymore. It was very helpful, the Kickstarter.
We were able to get it all pressed here in Berlin as well at a new company called Objects, which can do these small batch recordings of vinyls for indie artists. Listening to it back to back as a record is like, that's a crazy experience. This is the record.
Yeah.
We worked with a photographer, a friend of ours, Anna Michelotti from Italy. So she did the cover and we did all of the design ourselves. And our colour is kind of orange. So you can see there's a bit of orange text throughout. And also we were able to print the vinyl on orange vinyl as well. Again, like, since we're not in a label or anything, we just have to do all of this ourselves. But that's so fun.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really nice that, like, no one else is kind of inserting their opinion at any point of this, that we just get to do it exactly how we want to do it. I mean, it's a persistent feeling in everyone's life a little bit, but I think, especially with the themes of a lot of stuff that we wrote for this album, the kind of unifying thing is this feeling of sort of failing to meet your own expectations of yourself, failing to be what you want to be in some ways.
I mean, in some ways, it's like us as an age group as well. We're not this like traditional idea of what a man should be, but also we're not as good as we should be either. You know, in a way, we're still have these bad habits that contribute to the climate change or negative ways of thinking about things and expressing ourselves. Our music that we do in some ways is very reflective. It's guitar music that's very referential of stuff in the 20th century. It's a journey, I suppose. And the whole album, I would say, is quite autobiographical of our time together in Berlin.
For sure.
I suppose the sort of concept of the album is really us coming to terms with becoming adults. That constant battle of trying to figure out who you are and being quite like critical of yourself. I think I really learned a lot about like the process of being a musician. Believing in one's ideas and also creating like my own practice or process as a musician.
So we released a total of 6 singles starting back last year in June. And we picked out these songs because they're the ones that were the most accomplished sound-wise in terms of what we wanted. And we wanted to start off with some of the ones that we've been playing for a long time that are quite like crowd favorites. And towards the end of this single cycle now with the last 2, they're more ones that we just felt gave the right context for the album in terms of the message, in terms of the mood, and also in terms of the cynicism.
And I suppose it's also been about like building this anticipation of like, what is this album? Because each single kind of contained these sort of different hooks and characteristics of the entire thing. So just to kind of keep people guessing throughout and we're building this anticipation towards wanting to listen to the full thing.
The album release show was really, really fantastic. It was a really great time. We were very lucky that we sold out the place, which was really good. We were quite nervous about that, but it went super, super well. Obviously, we've been playing these songs live for quite some time, so people know them, and people reacted really, really well. There's a lot of people there from some of our support shows as well, who haven't seen us in a while and who aren't like... who've only seen us maybe once, but the sort of response we got from those guys as well was really, really powerful because they were really, I don't know, they were on board.
Yeah, and I've never had it before. Like, we only played us. We didn't have any other support band or anything like that. And we heard on the talkback mic of the sound engineer, like, you need to tell the crowd to, like, move up because it's, like, way too busy and people can't get in. And I was like... wow, that's like the first time that's ever been a problem. There's been too many people. And we had like our friends join us on stage and it felt just like this big celebration of like all of these years that we could play like an hour and 15 minutes of music and keep people entertained from start to finish. Felt like really like a good conclusion or to this first part of the journey. And then afterwards there was just so many old faces, new faces, like people that we'd never met before asking to get their record signed, or like old friends that have known us for years since before we were even in a band there. It just felt like such like a celebration of this thing, you know, and makes you feel like, oh, this is why we do this.
Yeah.
Still in this sort of vein now, we're going to the UK and we're going to play 4 shows there while we like tour the UK, so that's also going to be exciting. So we had our Berlin release, but we're also going to have our UK release in London on the 27th of April, which will be, that'll also be a lot of fun.
In April we got the UK tour to celebrate the album.
September hopefully we'll be playing in the Nordic countries, so Finland, Sweden, and then maybe Denmark.
We got these tours lined up, but we've also been working on a lot of new material as well. We got like 3 songs right now ready to go. I started recording these songs right now, ready to go, and we really want to get started on the next thing.
And I think since we've learned so much doing this album, we're in like we can do everything so much faster and easier now. I would say by ourselves
And better. I think we can get it to sound a lot better
yeah.
every single time we do it.